Interested in Manchester United's Nusa Mazraoui and Celta Vigo's Oscar Mingueza as they search for a new right-back. Fiorentina in talks with Leeds. We talk about Manchester United. Yes, please. It's a new era at Old Trafford after Micheal Carrick was appointed as head coach yesterday. Let's head live to Manchester United's training ground and speak to our football correspondent, Rob Dorset. Rob, a very good morning to you. So Carrick takes training, doesn't he, for the first time today after the players had been given 2 days off. What's in his immediate in tray?
Well, look, I've been given a pretty clear indication of how the day will pan out for Micheal Carrick in his first day in this role. Listen, remember, he is not interim head coach. He is Manchester United head coach on a short-term contract until the end of the season, and he has to hit the ground running. That's why the Manchester United bosses went to the old boys. It's why they interviewed Ruud van Nistelrooy, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Micheal Carrick. They wanted somebody who knew the environment and would be comfortable in that environment right from the start. And we've seen Micheal Carrick arrived this morning. He was here bright and early. We can show you those pictures. Driving up alongside his longtime friend Jonathan Woodgate, of course, who was his assistant with him at Middlesbrough. 7:51 they arrived, just at first light for their first day in charge. So you can see that they're keen and they wanted to get here long before the players to try and get the preparations ready, because they've only got 3 training sessions before their first game in charge. And we know it's a difficult start for Manchester United. Second game up, Arsenal away. First game up, the Manchester Derby, live on Sky Sports on Saturday lunchtime. Baptism of fire for Micheal Carrick and his new backroom staff. But I think he's got to get to know some of his backroom staff. He's never worked with Steve Holland before, remember, who was the surprising appointment in terms of his coaching staff. I think he'll then meet the players and try and talk to them about the philosophy that he wants to bring, what he expects of them, how his training methods will work, and to get them bedded in before their first session out on the grass, which I assume will be led by Steve Holland. That's his area of expertise. And then they've got 2 other training sessions before that game on Saturday where he's got to think who's the best players to play. Is Kobbie Mainoo going to come back into the side? The good news is he should have Brian Mbeumo and Amad Diallo back training today. They're back from the African Cup of Nations to bolster his squad before those 2 big games to kick off his reign.
Rob, what about the impact Carrick's arrival and now transfer plans? There'll be a lot of Manchester United fans watching this morning wanting to hear about some incomings. What can you tell them?
I can't tell them too much good news because, look, there will be no change to Manchester United's policy on transfers in this January window because they've changed the head coach. Remember, Ruben Amorim had very little impact and very little say in terms of incomings. That, of course, he was consulted and discussed what was needed. But it was the bosses above him. It was Jason Wilcox, the director of football, Omar Barada, Sir Jim Radcliffe, who would sanction the big moves. And they don't have any plans, Manchester United, to make significant signings in the January transfer window. They didn't for Amorim. That was a source of frustration for him. They won't under the new man, Micheal Carrick, either. They're trying to keep their powder dry, keep all of their resources available for a really big push in the summer for 1, possibly 2 central midfield players. And we know that Adam Wharton, Elliot Anderson, Carlos Baliba, João Gomez, those are the sorts of names that are on the Manchester United wanted list for bolstering their squad in the summer. They're not going to waste any of that money now and maybe pay over the odds in January for when there's players that they want to get in the summer. So I think it's keep their powder dry. They were in for Antoine Semenyo because he was a long-term target and they thought he was available at a good price. Of course, they missed out to Manchester City. So it's not to say that Manchester United won't do any business in this January transfer window, but unless one of their long-term targets becomes available, surprisingly, and at a good price, they'll keep their powder dry until the summer. And then, of course, we don't know whether it'll be Micheal Carrick or another big-name coach who'll be in charge of the team by then.
Rob, thank you very much. Dan Gosling. So, Rob's saying don't get too excited, Manchester United fans, about some incomings. They've got a longer-term strategy, and that's not necessarily going to be impacted by who is the head coach. And that's, as we know, Micheal Carrick until at least the end of the season. Bearing in mind, when you look at the table, they're only a point off 5th place, which is probably going to be a Champions League spot. Is there a danger that they then stutter in this race? And Liam Rosenior, for example, coming in at Chelsea, there'll be other teams around them eyeing up a top 4, a top 5.
There certainly will be other teams. It's definitely not a foregone conclusion that Manchester United get in the top 5. I think they've got a lot of work to do to actually do that. They're more than capable. But yeah, I think the likes of Brian and Mbeumo coming back, Amad Diallo is going to help them a lot. They missed them. They missed them on that right-hand side over the past few weeks. I think now they're going to go 4-4-2, 4-4-1-1. It looks more that way. The balance of the squad and the team probably looks better. But they still need a lot more. They need to perform a lot better than what they have been doing. Sesko looks like he's starting to become a peripheral figure as a number 9, starting to score some goals, get some more chances. And with Bruno close to him, they can form a good partnership come the end of the season.
Yeah. Right, still to come on Good Morning Transfers. Are Arsenal too short in defence? And will we see Tammy Abraham back in the Premier League? We'll discuss those big topics in the company of our beautiful fans in a few minutes. James, you've got an update from Aston Villa regarding Donyell Marlin. What's the latest?
Yeah, look, Donyell Marlin's been talked about quite a bit in this transfer window, possibly departing Aston Villa. Our update from our colleagues in Italy are saying that AS Roma are waiting on an outcome of a bid that they've made to Aston Villa. That is a loan with an obligation to buy at the end of the season. Now, the loan fee offered is £1.7 million. Permanent offer in the sum of £21.6 million. That's for a player that's only joined Aston Villa a year ago. Atletico Madrid are monitoring the situation, so they're waiting to see the outcome of whether Aston Villa accept that before potentially making their move. It's a player they're very interested in as well. So look, this one feels like it's moving. I have to say, as watching Aston Villa, knowing how Premier League sides are, you need replacements. You need good squad depth. You need, when you've got a top striker like an Ollie Watkins, you need somebody else to step in. Donyell Marlin, for me, feels like he's done that when he has had the opportunity this year. Amy, I want to bring you in, really. Are you surprised, as I am maybe, that his future looks like it might be away from Villa?
I'm not actually surprised just because of the recent speculation. Roma have been pushing. There was a report that said that it's kind of up to Marlon if he wants to leave or not. So we've apparently got a few forwards that we're looking at if he leaves. From a fan perspective, I actually wanted us to sign another forward anyway. But apparently if Marlon leaves, which it sounds like it's on its way now, we definitely have people that we're looking at to replace him. But we do love Marlon. The fans love Marlon.
He's got the same chant as Erling Haaland. They love him.
Correct, yeah.
And he's been impactful off the bench, hasn't he? I mean, there'll be people who watched him at Borussia Dortmund last season who said it was a similar sort of role. He wasn't a guaranteed starter, but he's clearly a great squad player. He sees himself as more of that, right? And he knows he could go to Serie A and start every game. In terms of that other forward that might come into Villa Park, Tammy Abraham, I mean, you remember him firstly there as a Championship player. He's gone away via Chelsea, via Milan, Roma, Besiktas. What likelihood of him coming to Villa Park?
You'll know him well from 2018, 2019. Performed exceptionally well for Aston Villa at the time. The interesting thing with Tammy Abraham, first of all, he's been at Roma since 2021. So he's been there for, 4.5 years now. So a lot longer than maybe we think. But he's on loan currently at Besiktas. Now, Besiktas have an obligation to buy at the end of the season if certain obligations are met. Well, those obligations have already been met through his appearances. So this becomes quite a complex signing. And whether Aston Villa can make this happen. Roma kind of have their hands tied a little bit. They need to negotiate almost an exit with Besiktas to then let the deal with Aston Villa happen. So I wonder, certainly with Donyell Marlin, whether any green light will only be given if there's a guarantee that a replacement or Tammy Abraham perhaps being that player is likely to come in. And look, Tammy Abraham, we talk again, I'm going to repeat myself throughout the whole transfer window about the World Cup year, but we always talk about in-depth and backup to Harry Kane, right? And is there really a guaranteed backup? Ollie Watkins started firing maybe a little bit more, but there's always an opportunity for somebody to sneak in those World Cup squads. Tammy Abraham's been an England player before, so maybe he's got an opportunity.
Long time ago, and it's 22, I think, was the last time he played for England. But this would be his final chance, wouldn't it? Because not long ago, we were talking about Danny Welbeck as a backup to Harry Kane should something go wrong with him. At least he's putting himself in the shop window. On the surface of things, Dan, one in, one out, Marlon out, Abraham in. Is that good business for Emery and Villa?
I think Donyell Marlin will probably offer a little bit more. I haven't seen Tammy Abraham play that much over the last couple of years, to be honest. But Aston Villa are clearly dealing with financial issues. You sell a player that's not really playing, not really a starter. I don't see where Donyell Marlin actually gets into that Villa team at this moment in time. So you're getting probably similar money that you actually paid. You've had a year and a half. You've had some important goals, some big points that he's won for you. It's probably the right time for everyone.
Yeah. Amy, are you in the title race? I've had so many people sit in these seats this week and complete mixed opinion. You're